Do you ever feel like a plastic bag drifting through the rift, not knowing where you're going or what you're doing? Well, I feel like that 90% of the time, but luckily for me, I have challenger friends who can tell me exactly what I need to do. And in this video, I'm going to give you guys the advice they gave me. What is up, Team ProGuides? Today, we'll be discussing how you can win more of your solo queue games from this one concept. I'm sure many of you guys felt like you had no idea what you should be doing during some of your games. We believe that at any point in the game, you should have an idea of what is going on and be chasing after that victory screen by influencing the game. This video will help you understand how to identify win conditions and how you can formulate a game plan around them. And for our question of the day, what is your go-to strategy for your solo queue games? Do you perma-roam and get kills here and there? Or do you like to help out your jungler and take over the enemy jungle? Let us know in the comments down below. Personally, if I'm playing top lane, I like to use teleport to influence lanes. And if I'm playing mid lane, I like to use a strong early game champion so that I can push the wave and then roam. Before we get started, make sure to check out ProGuides.com if you want to start winning more games. You guys will see big improvements to your game, especially with our new VOD system. If you have a game that you're interested in analyzing, for whatever reason maybe you lost and you wanted to know how you can do better, go upload the video of your game to ProGuides and we will analyze it for you with our challenger coaches. Alright, so what's important about recognizing win conditions and creating a game plan in your solo queue games? Well, the biggest reason why is that you can be more proactive in your games. Most players that don't have a game plan end up not impacting their games at all. They'll just run around like headless chickens with no direction. And I don't think that headless chickens win games, guys. The first step in winning more solo queue games is to plan out how you want to play the early and mid stages of the game by identifying potential win conditions within the team compositions. So an example of this is if you're playing a strong early game composition, you have to know that, hey, you're not going to outscale the enemy team who has like a Nasus and a Vayne. So instead, you're going to have to really push your lead in the beginning. You're going to have to go roam. You're going to have to go influence the other lanes and snowball your lead fast. That is a win condition. Recognizing these types of win conditions and figuring out a game plan is an important skill for any player to have and to be practiced on. Hopefully by the end of this guide, you'll be able to distinguish the best ways to approach the victory in the end and help you feel more confident, because that's all we want to do. Okay, so let's go over some example game plans. Since there are way too many combinations of champions that can be drafted by both teams, we'll just be going over several common win cons and game plans that show up often in solo queue. If you are playing late game champions that need levels and items to be relevant in the game, such as Kassadin and Kayle, your main goal with these champions is to focus on scaling as fast as possible. This is possible by getting good reset timers and not getting chunked out of lane for no good reason. A situation that could come up is your opponent roaming to a different lane after shoving you in, and you have the option to either follow the roam or stay in the lane and farm. Most of the time, shoving the wave and getting more farm is more beneficial to you than following the roam, since you need to scale, and your impact on the roam will probably not be that effective since you're not very strong in the early game. Your best bet in this situation is to spam ping missing in your lane, ping danger to the lane your opponent is roaming to, and then shove that wave as fast as possible to either get some vision or get a free reset off. Even if your win con is to safely scale, that does not mean to give up all the objectives on the map. You can still do stuff even though your champion is kind of weak in the early game. If a fight looks extremely favorable, it's beneficial for you to join the skirmish because it will not only help you scale, but it will help your team get stronger overall. Another win condition is recognizing volatile matchups and allocating resources to help them possibly snowball the lane out of control. So for this win condition, let's give an example that your bot lane is running Draven Thresh. If you guys get any sort of lead in the bot lane, you guys can possibly snowball out of control and take over the game, making the game a lot easier to win. So your mid lane, your jungle, will probably want to focus on you guys, and so they can swing that lane without giving up too many resources. Since the mid lane is close to the bot lane, and the jungler can clear his jungle toward bot side, both the mid and the jungler can control vision in the bot side jungle and look for roams and dives to get you guys in the bot lane that sort of lead that you need to snowball. And if you guys are playing that Draven Thresh lane, you want to make sure that any lead that you gain during the laning phase, you push your lead as much as possible. So let's say you get a 10 or 20 CS advantage over your opponent and you back and you get a stronger item. This is where you want to play way more aggressive. Get that extra kill to get another item over your opponent. And then so on. You want to really play to your advantages. And in this way, you might actually be prioritizing kills over getting objectives. Your win con in this situation is to take over the game and snowball, which means you need to make a game plan to stay safe from ganks and have total control over the bot side of the map. Another simple scenario is when you pick a champion that has really good setups for ganks. Some champions that excel at ganking include Lysandra, Renekton, and Thresh. A game plan that you can have for these types of champions is setting up your wave so that it's frozen under your turret, forcing your opponent to overextend to get some CS. You can achieve this by either getting full vision control on the side you are playing on, or simply chunking the enemy enough so that they concede wave control. After setting up a freeze, you can ping your jungler over and tell them to set up a camp so that your opponent can't play the game. If your opponent stays overextended and your jungler pays a visit to your lane, you can easily go for a CC combo onto your opponent and get a free kill. With the XP and gold lead you get from freezing, you can look to extend your lead by spreading it across the map. A new game plan can be made mid-game, which could be to secure all the objectives and look for scrappy fights that are pretty favorable for you. Remember, these are only 2 examples of a bajillion other possible game plans, but the point here is that you should really be thinking about these game plans and how that champion synergy plays out to give you guys a lead. Just getting kills in lane doesn't mean anything. It's if you get those kills to get advantages to snowball that lead that actually means anything. Alright, now let's go through some additional tips. Okay, so before the game starts, list out all the possible ways you can take over the game and weigh out all the options you have. Now, obviously it depends on your role. If you're ADC, you don't really have too much agency over the game. But if you are ADC, let me just give you an example. Let's say they have a heavy dive comp, or they have a bunch of assassins that are going to try and kill you, or they have a bunch of CC. You can still think about those as your game plan and then itemize accordingly. Maybe you need a GA. Maybe you're going to need a QSS. These are things that you want to think about before the game starts. So focus on 1 or 2 of these options and make sure that you don't tunnel vision on those because there may be more win conditions throughout the game. The key is to have a general idea on what to do when the game starts and being able to adapt to different scenarios. You never know if your top lane Kayle that needs time to scale may randomly get a double kill. If your Kayle somehow does get a double kill, you may want to try to secure their lead by helping the Kayle get vision or even looking to dive if possible. Another situation where you might want to adapt is if you fall behind early and you wanted to play for the first dragon. You can concede the dragon and then look for a herald play or roam top. Another game plan that may come up is that you simply should just not die. If you are 10 minutes into the game and your team is already 7-0, your game plan may be as simple as just surviving and stabilizing the game. The worst thing you could do when your team is already a substantial lead is just to throw it away. When you are 7-0, the only thing that the enemy team is probably thinking is how they can get back into the game with such a deficit. The obvious answer is to get a lead from the lane that does not have a substantial lead. They're obviously thinking, hey, I'm going to take some risks to try and get some more kills, so they're going to be extra aggressive. So this is where you just kind of want to take advantage of those missteps, and maybe they're even more hot-headed than normal. This is especially important if you're playing a late game champion or a champion in a losing matchup, since you can easily fall extremely behind if you die and make the game harder for the rest of your team. Ultimately, game plans are for you to stay attentive to winning the game. Our coaches at ProGuides have found out that a common thing that most of our students tend to do is waste a ton of time. League is a game about time. Time is a resource. You don't have much of it, and you have to do a lot of things in a short amount of time. We believe that one main reason why players tend to waste a lot of time during their games is that they are unsure on what they should be doing. Formulating a game plan for the next objective or for the next play is what you should be doing so that you are being proactive in the game. For example, if you wanted to play for Herald at around 12 minutes because you were playing a really strong early game champion to get plates before they fall at 14 minutes, you should always try to keep that in mind when making any play. If that was your main goal in the first place, it would make more sense to establish topside vision a few waves before contesting it, instead of roaming bot side to control vision there. If you manage to secure the Herald, you should immediately think of a new game plan. This could be to get the next dragon that's coming up, or to look for a roam bot and use the Herald to break down the turret. The worst thing you can do is to AFK during the laning phase and let the enemy team do whatever they want to take over the game. And one final point for you guys in the ProGuides family is don't ignore all the game fundamentals such as giving up CS from not shoving your wave all the way in, or taking bad fights just because it fits your game plan. It is completely fine when the game does not go as you intended, but it's important to keep your head straight and find different ways to end up on top. Alright guys, that concludes the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment if you haven't. It really does help us out here at ProGuides. Once again, we have a new VOD system. If you guys are interested in getting better at the game, go find your challenger coach on ProGuides. You don't have to talk to any of them. All you have to do is upload your video and they will actually create a custom-made video for you in return, giving you a detailed outline of what you should be doing to improve your games. We also have a bunch of courses with Doublelift and live classes with Belter and Mike Young, amazing pro players who can help you take your gameplay to the next level. Alright guys, that's it for me today. Once again, it's been Christoph. Thank you so much for joining me. Good luck your next few games, and I'll see you on the Rift.